Hello, curious minds. When we hear the words North Pole or South Pole, a very simple image may form in our minds. A white place covered with snow from every side, towering icebergs, and white clouds in a clear or dark sky. For many people, they don't seem very different, just frozen regions where the temperature drops below zero. But are they really that similar? Or is the truth deeper and more fascinating? That's what we will discover today. Welcome. I am Dr. Y, and this is a new episode of Sleepy Questions, where we answer the questions that knock on your mind's door in the middle of the night. And today's question is, what is the difference between the North Pole and the South Pole? It may sound obvious, but the differences between the two poles are so astonishing that you will feel as if you are comparing to separate worlds. True, ice and snow bring them together, but the small details create huge differences. Take this for example. The North Pole is nothing but a frozen ocean surrounded by land, while the South Pole is a whole continent covered in ice. The first has human and animal life, while the second is almost empty of any trace of life. Even the climate, the temperatures, and the environmental phenomena are completely different. Did you ever imagine that two places that look so similar could actually be this different? Let us go back a little into history. The earliest attempts to explore the North Pole were in the 19th century, specifically in 1827, by the British sailor William Parry, but he could not reach the actual point of the pole. After that, interest remained stagnant for a long time until the mid-20th century, when the American explorer Ralph Plysted in 1938 managed to reach the region using snowmobiles, an unprecedented achievement at the time. Just a year later, a British expedition led by Herbert followed. These attempts did not only open the door of knowledge, but they also planted in people's imagination an image of a mysterious place full of challenges. As for the South Pole, it was far more difficult and fascinating for explorers. Attempts began in the early 20th century led by the Norwegian Roald Amundsen and the British Robert Falcon Scott. But reaching it was not easy, as the distance and weather conditions were a huge obstacle. Some expeditions stopped just 600 kilometers away from the pole, before storms and lack of supplies forced them back. But Scott's determination pushed him to try again in 1911, when he did reach the South Pole. However, he lost his life with his entire team on the return journey due to hunger and exhaustion of supplies. A tragic story, but it highlighted the harshness of this place, while at the same time increasing humanity's curiosity to uncover its secrets. Perhaps the most common myth among people is the one that puts polar bears and penguins in the same place. Many cartoons have shown them as friends living side by side. But the truth is completely different. Polar bears live only in the North Pole, while penguins exist only in the South Pole, and if they ever did meet in the same place, penguins would have gone extinct long ago, as they cannot fly and are too weak against a giant predator like the polar bear. Isn't it fascinating that two creatures that became global symbols of ice have never actually met? If you want a quick way to distinguish between the two poles, look at the nature of the land. The North Pole is a frozen ocean covered with a layer of ice, surrounded by continents from all sides. But the South Pole is solid land, a massive continent known as Antarctica, covered by a thick ice sheet thousands of meters deep, and surrounded by the ocean. This fact alone is enough to completely change your view of them. As for the climate, the difference is massive. The South Pole is much colder than the North Pole. The reason for that lies in its elevation. Most of its parts lie more than 3,000 meters above sea level. And according to the laws of nature, the higher we go, the colder it gets. Add to that its enormous ice layers and giant mountain ranges. The North Pole, however, lies almost at sea level, with no mountains or massive ice sheets. The result? The South Pole sometimes reaches temperatures of minus 39 degrees Celsius. And even in its warmest days, it doesn't exceed minus 12. Meanwhile, the North Pole is relatively milder, reaching minus 40 in its coldest times. and up to just 5 degrees below zero in its warmest days. This climatic difference directly affected the life in both poles. The North Pole is home to the Inuit tribes who adapted to harsh conditions for hundreds of years. There is limited plant life, but it exists. Short grasses, moss, and small trees that withstand the cold. It is also rich in fish, seabirds, and animals such as wolves, Arctic foxes, and reindeer. The South Pole, however, is almost empty of humans or plants. Only scientists live there in temporary research stations, and some types of penguins and seals depend on the sea for food. The difference is huge between a place bustling with life and another that is almost an icy desert. But the more important question is, are the two poles really important to planet Earth? The answer is yes, absolutely. The poles are like the air conditioners of the planet. They help regulate the global climate and distribute heat. Without the ice reflecting sunlight, the Earth would be much hotter than it is now. And with the melting ice caused by global warming, we are already seeing clear effects, floods, hurricanes, and unstable weather in places that never experienced such things before. But the benefits are not limited to climate. The North Pole in particular represents a massive economic treasure. Even though it does not belong to a single country, the surrounding nations, Russia, Canada, Norway, the United States, and Denmark, all fight over its resources. Beneath its ice, it is believed to hold more than 260 trillion cubic meters of natural gas, about 10 billion tons of oil, and rare minerals like nickel, cobalt, copper, and platinum. Russia, for example, relies heavily on these resources for its exports, making the North Pole a hot geopolitical battlefield despite its freezing cold. So imagine, these two places we see from afar as just endless white ice are in reality the cold heart of Earth that regulates our lives and climate, while at the same time representing an economic treasure beyond measure. Their differences are not limited to nature and climate, but extend to their impact on the future of all humanity. And with that, we have answered today's question: what is the difference between the North Pole and the South Pole? If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like and share, subscribe to Sleepy Questions, and activate the bell to get the upcoming episodes first. And don't forget to leave your questions in the comments, as they may be the topic of a future episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon in another journey into the world of questions that keep us awake in the middle of the night.